Drums keep pounding a rhythm to the brain. La-da-da-da-dee. La-da-da-da-da. Drums keep pounding a rhythm to the brain. La-da-da-da-dee. La-da-da-da-da.
What's going on, guys? We have another Mitch on the Mic live stream. Now, I'm pretty sure, with any luck, we should all be running. All mics and stuff are turned on. And today we have quite an exciting episode with a multi-time national champion, if I'm correct, 11-time national champion of Ari Bakla. And I'll get him on in a second. But what we're going to go through on this episode is pretty much the ins and outs of what happened down in New South Wales Titles, the overall event itself, the surface, pretty much the whole ins and outs. So without further ado, I'm going to get Ari on here. Bing, and there we go. Mr. Ari Bakla, mate, how's it going?
Very good, very good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. A little bit tired after the weekend, but yeah, all good, all good.
And introduce yourself. I'm sure majority of people would know you by now. You've been in the hobby for a long time, but feel free to introduce yourself and who you are within the hobby.
My name's Ari. I'm old for an RC racer. Yeah. A little bit older than most. I've been racing for 35 years now. This is my 35th year. I live in Sydney. Castle Hill is my home track. Luckily hosting the world in 18 months' time. Yeah, I race modified. I've raced open for, I don't know, a long time now, 20, 25 years at least, if not more, actually. And off-road electric is where I started in 10 scale at St. Ives. Just literally started racing like 2 weeks after the 89 Worlds that was held there. Did a little bit of on-roading as well. I do like a little bit of 1/8 buggy, nitro buggy, and e-buggy. That's always good fun. Unfortunately, we don't have any tracks for 1/8 locally in Sydney, so 10 scale electric is where it's at for me.
Yeah, fair enough. And with that as well, we actually had a good chat with who was it last weekend? Oh, it would have been Andrew Ford, where we actually discussed the sort of lack of tracks around Victoria and also New South Wales when it comes to 8 scale. And yeah, it was actually an interesting chat, the fact that we don't have that sort of many major 8 scale tracks locally to Sydney and say Melbourne, that side of things. So what do you actually, we may as well jump back into that a little bit. What do you put that down to? Is it just not sort of the clubs to sort of suit that, or is it just that 10 scale is just so popular around those sort of areas at the moment?
No, I think it comes down to, I mean, we got 3 10 scale tracks within an hour's drive of each other. So St. Ives, Ryde, and Castle Hill. But those clubs have been there for decades. They're established. They've been there for 40 years, and it's quite hard to start a club from scratch. And I think that's probably the biggest key. Having them around back in the day, I guess it was probably a lot easier to start up a club. If you had a few mates, and land in Sydney wasn't what it is like it is now. It's not at a premium. You'd find a little local park and you just cut the grass down and throw some dirt out and start a form a club basically. Whereas nowadays you can't do that. So we had Liverpool. We lost that area to the council with asbestos issues, and that was it. From that, we do have Maitland, which is say an hour and a half from Sydney, and then we do have Wollongong, Albion Park, an hour and a half again from Sydney, and then Canberra, which is about 3 hours. So we do technically have, but it's a little bit difficult just to jump in the car and go to do a club day and whatever, and then have a bit of fun. So having a club that's established and already there is a good thing, and it's something that you never ever want to lose a club, because it's absolutely very, very difficult to start up a fresh one, so to speak.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And as you mentioned there as well, land around Sydney, Melbourne, and even Brisbane, Gold Coast, that sort of side of things.
Yeah.
How difficult it was to sort of acquire land for a club, especially something that's so niche as what our hobby is, or sport. In certain ways. Okay, we'll move on a little bit here as well. I'd like to run through a couple of quick things with you as well. As you said, you've been in the hobby for 35 years, and you've had quite a lot to do with the hobby in those 35 years as well, including running your own pretty much hobby shop / business as well. I'd like you to walk me through, say, HEI and your hobby shop that you're in as well.
Look, I was 14. My sponsor at the time, Bolt On Performance, mentioned to my dad, "Hey, do you want to start up a little business for your son? We'll when you go to the track, set up a little table and sell some product." And he was like, "Oh yeah, great idea. Why not?" I want to say, we started with $400 or $500 worth of product, if that. Back then, basically sold everything at a local St. Ives club day. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. I've just look at all this money that I've got." 14-year-old kid, and hundreds of dollars. And my dad's like, "Yeah, nah, give me that. We're going to put that back into stock." I was like, "Okay, cool." And literally just turned it over and over and over and over and over, and built that into HEI, the company. We started importing products, brands. We make our own brands. We used to match our own batteries. We used to build our own motors, and it all sort of stemmed from obviously from my racing. It was, I guess you could say, it was originally to fund my racing, but it obviously turned into something a lot bigger than just that. And it was just we just kept turning over and putting the cash back into the business. My dad eventually he used to be an auto electrician, and basically we got to the point where we were like, okay, we need to move this out of the van that we had, and we used to have a double garage that we stored the stock in, and we're like, no, let's move into wholesaling. And I'll stop my dad said he'll stop his auto electrical business, and we'll go full steam ahead in the hobby. I finished year 12, and that was at that point where we decided that we're going to go all guns blazing, and started the importing and wholesaling side of the business, and grew and grew and grew until we sold it 2 years back.
Yeah, no, that must have been a big change as well. I know you still have a fair bit to do with HEI, and probably in certain ways, but how has that sort of change, I guess, formed what you're doing at the moment?
Best thing I ever did. Best thing I ever did. With through COVID, we had a large increase in terms of sales, so it was the perfect opportunity to advertise the business, and luckily for me, I guess the new owners wanted me to stay on board and assist them. So I'm in the office 3 days a week. I work from home a couple of days. We go to the track, we practice, we race, we enjoy ourselves.
Yep.
It's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
no, that's great. And I mean, and this is another thing, sort of from your 35 years of racing, that you've actually attended quite a fair few world titles, predominantly in 10 scale off road. Which world championships have you attended over the past? Which years roughly?
So I think my first worlds was Finland in 98. I want to say 98, 99. that was the first time I traveled overseas for racing. My parents didn't come. I went. We travelled with the Gillets and Watts, Daniel Watt. I don't know if I remember anybody remembers that name, but yeah, I travelled with them, and that was definitely an experience. It was really cool. The following year I won a Tamiya Cup Championships of all things, and travelled to Japan, all expenses paid by Tamiya, and raced there. Wow, you're testing me now. I think it might have been after that. It would have been 2013, Chico Worlds in US, 110 scale again. 2019, 2018, 19 was Perth 1/8 Buggy Worlds, so technically in Australia.
Yep.
We did that,
Technically.
and then technically, and then 2019 was Hootie Arena, for the 10 scale worlds, and then Phoenix last year. Last year was massive for us. We had Phoenix for the 10 scale worlds, and then 2 weeks later we had the GT worlds at Moorebank. So yeah, I think Perth was nearly as far as Slovakia in terms of travel time. That's why I said technically.
Yeah, it feels like it.
It's a little bit hard to get there, but it's all good. So yeah, done a fair. I'll say a fair few. Predominantly though in 10 scale. It's just easy to travel with 10 scale.
Yep.
And having I really like having the tool drive and then four drive. It kind of separates it. It's like almost 2 separate events. You get a day break in between, and you kind of get 2 bites at the cherry. If you stuff up in one class, you can sort of make up for it in the next.
Yeah.
So,
no, exactly. And side question off that as well. Favorite world titles you've attended?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them have been a little bit special. 2019 Hootie Arena was obviously being at the X-Ray factory and being the importer at the time was pretty cool. We got to do a lot. We got to see a lot there. But I think most important for me was my dad actually came with me to that one. And that was probably the first worlds that he's actually seen me race at, I guess. But it was cool to travel with him. With stuff like that, it makes it a little bit more special. And the last one in Phoenix was obviously a really good one. US trips are always good. I love the US, been heaps. But having my family there, my wife and my 2 kids, and then the other 2 kids, forgot their names, Ben Cribben and Pete Cooper. Having them there was good. When you have the right group of people around you, it just makes it so much more fun. The racing obviously is cool part of it as well. We hired an Airbnb and we all stayed together. So we were at the track together, we were at home together, we ate together, we swam together. We did everything together. So it was all of them memorable, but there's certain things about those couple that do make it really cool. The GT Worlds was also good. Obviously being sort of in Sydney, I stayed at home. I didn't do a hotel or anything. And whilst I'll say it's not my home club, but I don't do a lot of on-road racing. But making the main at that was pretty surreal, to be honest. It was pretty cool. Whilst it doesn't have the caliber of drivers, say, as like Phoenix, for example, in America, when you get a race 10 scale buggy, the competition is next level. So I'll say the competition level and the numbers of drivers weren't as strong in terms of quantity, but on paper I still made a name out of the world, so that's pretty cool. Yeah,
definitely a dream for majority of drivers.
Yeah.
All right, we'll flick it over to, I think with majority of people probably have come in to listen to, the New South Wales titles, massive weekend, and massive ups also to the committee for hosting such a huge weekend of racing, and over, I think it was 230 competitors. Oh, sorry, 230 entries. It'd probably use 120 competitors over 2 days as well. Probably more, if anything, to be honest. 63 to 62 modified drivers in both two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, which is just insane. And managing to squeeze that into 3 days, so practice day on Friday, four-wheel drive day on Saturday to sort of bed the track in, I'm guessing, and then two-wheel drive day on Sunday. To be perfectly honest, I didn't expect them to be able to host that many drivers or entries per day. Because from what I was calculating up, we were going to be finishing qualifying around 2:30, and it's going to be dark by 5, and that doesn't make sense to me. But no, they absolutely nailed it when it comes to the schedule side of things. Had to obviously shorten down finals for lower heats, but I think you come to expect that. And coming into a world's nicer side of things, I think that's going to be really coming to expect it, considering that lower mains only get a single final. So get used to it, because the majority of people aren't going to make it into the big show. But yeah, big ups to the club and stuff for hosting such a cleanly run event. On your side, four-wheel drive day, will kick things off there, and we, I'd say, had a fairly damp track when it came into four-wheel drive Q1, and your car obviously felt pretty good from the get-go.
Yes, but no.
Yep.
It was probably the worst it felt for the weekend, or the day, I'll say. The wet and sort of damp, cold surface just didn't have the bite that I thought it might have. I knew it was going to be lower grip, but I was like, oh, wow, this is like really low. And I'll say something that we don't normally get used to like that. I think what happened was on the Friday, obviously, we ran, and the track really bedded in, really grooved up nicely. And in the more, obviously, there was moisture. They did obviously do a little bit of track maintenance, a little bit of watering, a little bit of molasses, I believe, and then the dew overnight made the track just that little bit different. But because the surface had packed in and then they watered it, I think it went a little bit glassy. Because it was so, the surface was so bound from the groove and the tires, that it just made it just a little bit more slippery than, say, what we're normally used to. Still good. I think I finished second in that heat to Lockie Donnelly. But yeah, it was a little bit unexpected. But we knew that from there, the track was only going to get better in the sense where it was going to be, a little bit more grip each time we went out. So we actually didn't change the car much. I just induced a little bit more steering, and got a little bit more rotation out of it, because that's probably what it lacked in Q1. So made that little change, and for Q2, the car was pretty good. So
yeah. And that was going to be the next thing I sort of talked about as well, your sort of progression of your setup throughout the day and how much you actually change the car to sort of suit the conditions. So you mentioned there you didn't actually change a huge amount other than sort of general rotation of the car. So I sort of came in with the expectation that it would be fairly moderate grip, sort of probably low grip throughout the entirety of the event. So I chucked in a setup from the get-go of that, and it just it obviously wasn't as low of grip that I as I needed for the setup, and it didn't work out too well for myself. But it was a freaking fun sort of track to sort of run on at the same time. So yeah, as you mentioned there, it sort of had that sort of glossy feel in the morning, especially after it had been bedded in from the Friday's practice and stuff. With the molasses as well, I've run on only probably one other molasses track, and it was a very different feel. Obviously, that track was a lot more heavily molasses. It was almost like a sandpaper. So from the get-go in the morning, you had that sort of grip straight away. It was only sort of if you had the molasses poured on in the morning that you had that sort of tacky-ish damp clay feel. So obviously the track, I'm guessing there that they don't use a massive amount of molasses. I'm guessing it's watered down, probably down to 30% to 40%. I'd say. But
I don't know what the ratio is, but they don't use the molasses to create traction.
yeah,
That's probably the most important thing here. It's not like they lay it on thick and generate grip from the sugar.
from the molasses.
The molasses is basically used to sort of almost as a dust suppressant. Helps the dirt bind, and it speeds up the groove process. Is probably the best way to describe it. And as you saw on the Friday, like I think probably within the hour, as soon as there's a little bit of UV on the track and that moisture starts to sort of dry up a little bit, the groove just starts, and within an hour and a half, there's you can see the line starting to form, and it just gets better and better and better and better.
Yeah. Actually, one of the things that sort of reminded me of, and I have a feeling that you'll either correct me or at least say that I'm in somewhat correct with this, is the 27 Nationals from Maitland. It reminded me of that sort of track after I'd say Sunday of racing. So at Maitland, the surface there is a natural surface, but it's a clay, hard pack, that sort of side of things. It quite reminded me of that sort of side of surface. Similar grip level, but it took like 4 days to get to that level.
Right. That's it.
Whereas it was at that level by Friday afternoon, as you were just mentioning there. Once the light hit it, it was sort of getting that sort of black groove or blue groove sort of wearing into it already, which is cool to see. Realistically, tire wear, how'd you go with tire wear come say just on say Saturday for starters?
Well, I'll go back a little bit. Normally on a club day, we'll start wet as it is there like that, and we'll run one set of tires all day.
Yep.
Usually the first 2 rounds are a little bit wet, moist, and then it just grooves from there. And we'll run one set of tires on tour drive and 4-drive with the raw speed super minis. For the state titles, I basically ran 2 sets of tires because when it's wet, it doesn't wear the tire and then as it progressively grooves up, it does take the edge off, and come finals, the tires are perfect. The pins are nearly half, and because the track's grooved up and it's not dusty, you don't really need a lot of pin, and you don't want a super tall pin either, because then it dances around and feels squirmy. So 2 sets of tires in 4-drive for the day, race day. So.
Right. Okay. And modified now, and also stock buggy classes, and also stadium truck, short course, and all that stuff in RCRA rules are now limited. How do you sort of feel about the limiting of tires? It's a question that sort of it's sort of opinion based. So
I love it. It helps. Like when we went to Chargers last year, I had a box of tires. At the Nationals there, it was crazy. So limiting it does help. It adds a little bit of strategy, but to be honest, like for hills, for example, where else did I race? We went to Wodonga last year, and that was the very first event that we had the limitation on it, and no issues. 4 is plenty for modified. It just saves money essentially, and time, because you don't have to go up 50 sets of tires. It's great.
No, I agree with you on that one. I love the that's the first event that I've actually ran under the new tire rules and stuff, and it just not that I probably would have purchased more than say 4 sets per car and stuff, but it makes you feel a lot more comfortable going to an event knowing that you're only going to use that many. You don't have to worry about it anymore. So you mentioned as well before that Hills RC is your home track. How far from, say, your place is Hills RC? How far do you have to travel to get to and from the track?
Half an hour from home.
Half an
hour. 4.5 minutes from work.
Right. Very close.
Very close.
So, and you mentioned as well before, like, say, club days and stuff. You do quite a bit of club racing there as well.
Yeah. I try and do as much club racing as I can. We go to ride. We go to hills. It's because when my kids are racing, for club days, that's perfect. it's something that should be done from a pro racer, so to speak. You got to attend. You got to go to the club days. You got to show face. You got to help people. People just they might want to come and see you drive. They want to see you drive, on that track or a club day or whatever, So yeah, you got to attend those things, and I actually find it really good fun, especially when my kids are there. They have fun, so I have fun, and at the end of the day, emphasis on RC racing is fun, right?
Yeah. The good thing about the hills I see, and even ride as well, that you have quite a strong lot of drivers that you're able to race week in, week out. Lachlan Donnelly, Jared Ment and stuff, they're probably there a fair bit of time as well. I'm guessing that would probably help you to sort of find out where you're sort of sitting when it comes to their speed, knowing the caliber of driving that they're sort of pumping out on a week-to-week basis as well now.
Yeah, when I can keep up with them, yeah, for sure. It's good having some fast guys there. It definitely does help. Look, I've had to step up my driving over the last 4 or 5 years because of Lockie. He's super quick, super fast, young, good reflexes, can steer. His dad can set up a car, and so yeah, he's always I'll say he's always a benchmark. I find myself a tenth or two slower than him on most weekends, and it's good to chase, because it makes you hungry.
Yeah.
You want to get faster. You want to get better. As you get older, it does get a little bit harder, but it's really good having them there, and they do come to the club days as well, right? And they do attend it. They get a ride. They go to hills. So yeah, we're I guess we're pushing each other all the time. I'm pushing them, they're pushing me. On the track, and it's good.
Yeah, no, epic. The technicality of the track. Now, how did you find how hard it was to say drive on / how hard it was to actually push to try and get quicker lap times on?
I actually find the layout super easy. I think it's not super hard. There's no real tricky sections in the sense where a double into a triple into a quad or anything stupid like that. The jumps were really nicely made. They were nice and round. They weren't sort of pop jumps as such. Even the little pop jump on coming onto the front straight, it was okay. It's an easy thing to get over. Like I find the track, you can literally roll around in the middle of the lane and cut a lap quite easily.
Yeah.
And I think we did have the week before, we did have a race day, and you could see some of the older gentlemen, even my kids were there, and they were actually getting around okay. So it wasn't super hard to just get around.
Yep.
Getting around fast is hard.
Yeah.
There's not many tracks where you can make up time. Usually those tracks have like a really tricky section in it, and somebody who's really good at it can make up time in that section. But it's really hard to sort of be fast on that track, and you've got to just pull thousandths out of every corner, to be a tenth or two faster than the rest, or whatever you want to call it. There's a couple of little sections where you can push a little bit harder than say you would normally to gain a bit of time or whatnot, but it's risk for reward. But yeah, I find the track is quite user friendly for most, and I do like it. It's super fun to get around.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I found it quite an enjoyable track, which is once again a bit of a change because I haven't actually been able to drive recently, doing a bit more of the race calling side of things. So a fairly easy track to drive on made it quite a comfortable experience, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you mentioned there, like as soon as I tried to start pushing it, I started making mistakes left, right, and center. So that's something I haven't learned or haven't done it for a while. A couple of comments before we go too much further, and I'll address this one because I'm sure Pete's probably a little bit busy doing some stuff there over in the Philippines at the moment for the ABC round 2.
Oh, yeah.
So good luck over there, Pete. Make sure Alex drives hard, push hard.
Mhm.
Ment going on. G'day, guys. G'day,
Hey.
Menti. Brady, I don't know whether to address this one. There's no addressing of that. When you going to push for Brady to get back into racing? I keep telling him he needs to come back, but he keeps saying he's
Father
too busy
time.
with kids.
Father
Yeah.
time, mate. It's hard.
Yeah.
You know,
He
I went
came-
through it.
He came for a holiday up to Gold Coast. Saw him a couple of weeks back.
Yeah,
and
nice.
I said, he's too busy having holidays, not busy enough to race. So, what's going on there?
You'll have to get a wild card for the Worlds, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Be good to see him. Awesome event in the weekends. Yeah, and think about nationals. Exactly. Yeah, and to be honest, I hope a lot more people see how well run the states were and drop their entries into the nationals, whether they're comfortable on that sort of track or not. You just put a lower grip setup in and fang around, have some fun.
Or not, because there's only 3 days that we can run the event, mate. And if we get 400 entries,
Yeah.
Pete Cooper's gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah, he will, man. Yeah, it will be interesting considering we had over 60 entries for 2 and 4-wheel drive mod for the state titles, and it was quite a significant amount of drivers that I was expecting to enter that didn't, and quite high caliber drivers that weren't there, like say Jack McMillan or Caretti, those sort of drivers from South Australia. I know that even this fella here, he's looking at doing a bit of a comeback at the moment. I see he's building up a couple of buggies. So it'd be good to see Chris make a return for nationals. I'm sure he'll let us know if he's thinking about doing that or what he's doing at the moment.
I think we'll hit the 100 mark in mod.
Yeah,
at the nationals for sure. It'll be it's going to be epic.
Yeah. No, it will be awesome. Hopeful to be there myself, whether it be racing or race calling. So we'll see what happens. Pat, always like hills. It's not a hard track to get around. Much more challenge to be fast. Yeah. Doesn't challenge newcomers, but doesn't become boring for fast folk. Always been a strong point with the hills assigned. Yeah, 100%. That's pretty much spot on. And for anyone that doesn't know, Pat is one of the fellows that runs Maitland and was saying that Maitland's actually having a club day this weekend, I believe, this weekend on Sunday. There we go.
Nice.
So, but yeah, I know Maitland's had a couple of issues in the past few months when it comes to roadworks on the local road, and then some asbestos issues, I think. I'm sure you probably know a bit more about it myself.
They redid the whole park, actually.
Right.
Well, they actually turned it into a park.
Right.
So the council rebuilt the whole area. So they basically paused the RC racing track and said, okay, hold on, you guys just chill until we finish all this. I don't know about asbestos issues, but there has been a lot of that going on in Sydney, actually, at schools and stuff. So it could be there as well. But I do believe they're back open now and running. And there's a club day coming up. So the council put a roof on the driver's stand and stuff.
Awesome.
I think so. It should be. I haven't been up there since, to be honest.
Yep.
Probably need to get up there before I go to ABC in Queensland in a couple of months. Same sort of track surface, oil based. So we'll head up there at some point.
Yeah, there we go. Touch wood, no asbestos for Maitland yet. Yeah,
okay.
I heard it get circled around for some reason that there was something about asbestos. So fingers crossed that doesn't. Yeah, that's not true.
yeah. But it's all right because the council did all the work there, so it's on them. It's not on the club.
Yeah, exactly. Get them to do it. Brady said he's down for a World's comeback. There we go.
There you go.
Get him in.
Just put his hand up for that wild card.
Yeah, wild card is down. Here we go. The asbestos issues was a response. Sydney problems, had to test and rebuild. Okay. All good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good.
No,
We're in
sounds
the clear.
good. And Paney. I stuck probably the largest sticker on Paney over the weekend, and that was a good stitch up. He said he found it in his washing machine this morning. That was solid.
I did see your post this summer. That was pretty cool. I like it. Good job.
I think my favorite one was Pete Seckold. He saw the one on his brother whilst Matt was on the camera the whole day, and he had like a little Mitch symbol on his back that was sitting on their RC Race Media logo. And I just happened to get it on there. It was just luck of the draw how I just gave him a big hug when I first saw him in the morning. So he was the first one to get it. And Pete comes up to me and goes, "You're not going to freaking get me with one of them. I'm not allowing it."
Okay. Yeah.
And so I'd say about half an hour later, he had one on his back, and he didn't realize that for a few hours because I saw him walking around for a while.
Nice.
So sucked in, Pete. You
Yeah.
ended up with one on your back, and we got a photo of it.
Love
All
it.
right. Over to two-wheel drive. So two-wheel drive actually ran on Sunday. I'm guessing that they did that to sort of help bed the track in to be better for two-wheel drive. Do you know anything about that? Or is it sort of just a bit of a prep for what they're expecting to do at the Worlds, repeat of Worlds, that sort of side of things?
No idea. I found out Friday Arvo just quietly.
Yeah.
Because and Ben Cribben said something. I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, four drives tomorrow." I was like, "No, it's not. Two drives always tomorrow." And four drives Sunday. He goes, "No, we changed it." I was like, "What for?" He goes, "Oh yeah, look, we wanted the track to be perfect. The track's usually better on a Sunday, so we thought we'd try it." I was like, "Okay." And I think it actually worked.
Yep.
I think it actually worked because I think I'll say they were a little bit lucky. It was a little bit warmer on the Saturday evening, so I think the moisture dried up a little bit quicker. And the tool drive cars had pretty good grip straight up. I actually think the track on Sunday morning had a little bit more for Q1 than it did on the Saturday.
Yep.
So I'll say it worked.
Yeah, no, I think it worked really well. We saw them do a very similar thing over in Phoenix, Arizona for the world titles, where they were trying to sort of bed the track in using a four-wheel drive segment, knowing the cars would have that sort of extra grip, extra horsepower, sort of try to bed the cars. And it'd be interesting if the world just sort of follows that direction, whether it be at hills or in the future as well. Because that seems to work. The four-wheel drives definitely bed the track in a lot quicker, and then you have a better, more optimal track to run the two-wheel drives on. So it'd be interesting to see if they run that for the nationals later in the year as well.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to see that.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah, for sure. Two-wheel drive. So kicked off two-wheel drive on Sunday morning. Once again, damn track, but as you mentioned there, probably a little bit better grip on Sunday morning than what we had on Saturday morning. How'd your cars feel in the sort of damp, tacky-ish track?
It actually were pretty good. I was a little bit concerned. I was watching the races in the lead up to mine, and not many people were doing the double. They were single, and then a double. And we were like, "Oh wow, are we going to make it? Are we not? Are we going to?" Yeah. And I was like, "Oh," I actually resided to basically just going to do single. And I was like, "Oh, trust it. You've done this before. Have a go on the warm up lap." And I did, and it was fine. Like you kind of had to sort of line it up a little bit differently. You had to come a little bit wider and square it off so you could get a little bit more of a run up. But yeah, again, because the jump profile is quite round. Even if you did land on top, if you shorted it a little bit, it wasn't sharp where the jump was sharp and it sort of bucks the rear of your car and then you end up on your lid. You could land on top and then literally bump off and then go again. So there was one lap where I missed it, and it was the last lap. I was in the lead because I singled, I lost the lead. So it makes all the difference, so especially at that level. But the car was pretty good. It was a little bit slippery. The X-Rays, the XB2 is usually pretty good when it's slippery anyway. Our cars generate a fair bit of grip. So I was quite comfortable. I'll say I was a little bit nervous for Q1, actually. That's probably the only time I really get nervous is Q1. But after that, the car was pretty good, which helps. It was balanced. It had a little bit of understeer. But yeah, again, I think I finished second in that quali to lock again. So yeah, it was good.
One thing I actually noticed from marshalling the sort of top seeded heat was that, and it wasn't just your car, but it was also majority of the X-Rays seemed to have quite a fair bit more on power grip. and they had the ability to sort of hit that double a little bit easier without having to take much more of a variation of the line compared to pretty much all other cars that were in the sort of top seeded heat. So it was
Okay.
interesting to see the sort of difference between, say, the Associateds and the X-rays. The majority of the cars were either Associated or X-ray in that top heat. It
Okay.
might have been, I think Ben was in the same heat as mine, so that was the only other Schumacher. That would have been the sort of top 30. But yeah, it was interesting to sort of see the difference in sort of on power grip levels between the two cars and going through that sort of single or double section of the first double. But yeah, nonetheless. Modifications to your car as the track dried out for your tour drive?
We adjusted a little bit. I tend not to change my cars too much. I actually told Ben Cribbin to remind me to change stuff. Because I like to have my car set in practice, and I build confidence from that. And knowing what my car is going to do exactly every run. And I guess probably the main thing we changed from Q1 to Q2 was the ride height. We dropped 1 millimeter, and that was it. And our car, I don't know about other brands, but our car reacts a lot to the 1 millimeter of change in ride height. I'm sure others do, but I just feel our car does really sort of change the way the dynamics of the handling of the car when you adjust literally 1 millimeter of ride height. So just that tiny little change is actually quite big for us, I feel. And we just dropped it 1 mil, knowing that like how quickly the track evolved from Q1 to Q2. We kept an eye on it. Lowering the ride height again, lowering the CG, just makes it a little bit faster through the corners. So.
Right. Yeah. One thing I noticed between, say, Q2 and Q3, and this probably isn't relevant to your racing by any means, is I was running the associated vehicles and with a laydown, and I'm not running the latest gear by any means, that sort of things. I know the B7 doesn't have a different configuration when it comes to gearbox. The difference between the track between Q2 and Q3, I was running the laydown between Q2 and into Q3. I made modifications to the car that I would expect to, say, give it better on power as well as a little bit better side by coming out of the corner, because I was still struggling to hit the single or the double. What I noticed going into Q3, the grip seemed to have changed in a different direction to what I was expecting. Instead of it staying like it was still tacky-ish in Q2, but it had gone more to a slightly abrasive grip level come Q3. And it felt like the laydown transmission was pretty much thrown out the window by that point. That was just sort of one thing I found to be interesting, considering the amount of changes I made. I actually went 1.3 seconds per on fastest lap basis slower compared to the previous heat when I made.
Yeah, wow.
I think I spent about an hour trying to fix up the car to make it quicker. So that was a throwaway run, in other words, in Q3. But it was just interesting to see the track sort of transform from a very slight tacky grip level to that sort of the dry, abrasive, minorly abrasive grip level.
Yeah.
I think it might come into play a little bit once we get to sort of the nationals and stuff, see how people can sort of transform with that grip level as the sort of the day transforms as well.
Yeah, you got to keep up with the changing track, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so over to the finals side of things. Now, you and Lockie were locked together when it came to pace. You managed to out-qualify Lockie. Come the races, I think your pace was damn near identical, maybe slightly quicker, fast times, I'd say, from Lockie, which sort of kept you both together for each and every final, which actually became slightly detrimental to you both when it came to results. But other than that sort of side of things, how was your overall finals results and your races and stuff for your tour drive? How did you feel coming out of that?
Tour drive?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, obviously, you want to go for the win, but racing's racing. The outright pace of the car was really good. A1 was awesome race. We were nose to tail the whole 4.5 minutes, and I pushed wide half a car length on the right hand hairpin, and he put on a perfect move. Had one wheel on the curb, one wheel on the dirt, and I had nowhere to go. I had to yield. And obviously he took the win in that one. The car was pretty good. I ended up driving as hard as I could. A lot of times people sort of hold back in mains, and within reason. You sort of you do want to be comfortable in terms of how much you push. But for me, I knew he was going to be fast. He always is. And in my head, I had my goal was to push, and my goal was to gap and try and distance myself from him so that he couldn't get past. And whilst I'll say I didn't make a single error pushing the car wide just a little bit, because I couldn't gap, he was able to challenge and make that move. I was probably nearly 10 tenths, for the whole 5 minutes in A1. A2 was a little bit of the same. There was a couple of little incidents, but that's racing. And for A3, we made some changes. Made a couple of changes that worked out really well. Made the car. I noticed that the track changed a little bit. The sun obviously wasn't as sort of directed on the track, so there wasn't as much UV. It wasn't as hot. It started to cool down. There was a couple of shadows and stuff from the trees. So I was like, yeah, we need to change the car. We need to make the car better. And we made a couple of changes, and the warm-up at the car was sensational. I was like, yeah, this is on. I knew I had to win, obviously, not having taken a round yet. I had a second. Lockie also had a second. And I knew I had to either win. I knew I had to win and also do a faster time.
Yep.
So after running the warm-up lap, I was like, okay, this is good. The car's really nice. I'm very comfortable. And I just said, I got to gap them. I have to gap them. And for me to gap them and obviously do a fast run, that's going to work, in my favor. I probably had, I don't know, 3 or 4 meter lead by nearly the first lap, and then binned it in the tabletop. And that was it for me. The car was really good. I'm really disappointed in myself. It was an error, literally totally on my part. To be honest, I pushed probably a little bit too much in that sense, in that final. But the raw pace of the car was just insane. 28 flat with a couple of angry laps in there. Showed the real pace of the car, I guess. So we have a good. What I take from the weekend is we have a really good base. I'll say it to the boys, and I'll say it in public. Lately I've been a tenth or two slower than Lockie to be on pace, and I want to say maybe a tenth faster on a good heat is a really good place for me to be at. And we do definitely feel we have the right setup on the cars and a really good base to work with moving forward for whichever race you want to look at, if it's nationals or world or whatever. There's our ultimate goal is obviously the world, but it's good. And when I say we, like all the boys in the team, they're all happy. We've been able to get the cars up to speed. We have had the tool drive car, especially we've had since last year, but we haven't actually raced it properly. The Hills track, prior to the rebuild, really, we did do the odd clubby and we did an XRS, but it wasn't the same. The surface wasn't the same. It wasn't until the rebuild happened, 4 weeks ago, that we sort of really put in the effort and the time. And I did put in a lot of time. I was at the track, every weekend in the lead up. There was a couple of sneaky batteries before work as well. and after work. One on my lunch break, I think, as well. So, yeah, we put in the time.
Yeah.
We made changes and we worked on the setup. And I do really think that we've got a really good base to work with, and we'll hopefully build on that too. So,
Yeah. And we've actually got a really good question from Pat again here, in reference to driver etiquette from the weekend. I'll let you answer that, and I'll sort of chuck in my thoughts afterwards as well.
I'd rather really not
Yeah.
sort of get into that. Like,
Yeah.
racing's racing, man. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Driver etiquette amongst races in general. Let's say in general, okay. We'll answer that in general. That was really good. One thing Pete Cooper does is he sets a tone for a club day. Okay, he'll be out. We'll have a drivers' meeting, and he'll be like, "If you hit somebody, readdress." So he teaches people what they need to do at a club day, so that and not everybody was from Hills, obviously, but knowing that there's race referees on the driver's stand and stuff like that, people think twice. All the race referee has to do is say, "Hey guys, I'm here. I'll be watching," and then guess what? People know he's there, so they don't do it. Or do it deliberately anyway.
Yeah.
What could be done to elevate it in the run up to the Worlds? Honestly, you don't really need to. I think it was pretty good in that sense. Having the race referees there, like I said, is probably key. So.
Yeah, to add on to that, I was going to virtually say the same thing. The race etiquette all the way through the field, I thought to be really, really good. In comparison to what I believe, previous states that I have been to, I honestly believe the race etiquette was probably the highest I've probably ever seen.
Yep.
As you mentioned there, the referees being up top there definitely helped it out as well. It just sort of adds a sort of level of, if I don't do this myself, there's probably a good chance that someone's going to do it for me. And then there's a good chance that if they're going to do it for me, it's probably going to be a worst case scenario in comparison to just letting that person pass.
That's it.
So I saw, I watched a fair bit of racing whilst I was there, obviously whilst marshalling and stuff as well. I don't think there was any incidents in marshalling where I saw a driver collect someone else and then not wait. There was no real major instance that sort of made me look back and go, wow, that was pretty crap. It was all, it all sorted itself out without, probably majority of the time, without intervention from a race referee. And it'd be interesting to get one of the race referees to sort of, see what their standpoint from the weekend was more than probably ours, because we would only see our heats rather than the overall competition. But from my side, once again, I think I only ever heard the race referees pretty much maybe once calling out an incident, and the rest of the time they were just sort of helping to direct when the leaders were coming through and to allow for lap cars.
Which
and that's
also
what
helps
you want,
too, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that helps on many levels. It helps for the drivers being lapped. It helps for the drivers like yourself who are doing the lapping, but it also helps to say the race director's point of position, or race caller, which was Pete Cooper pretty much the majority of the weekend.
Yep.
He doesn't have to call that out, which allows him to focus on the racing and that sort of side of things. So it separates the two roles. And I know this very well from what I do, with my own race calling, that having that person up there to do that sort of side of things, it makes it so much easier. Oh, we've lost him. He's coming back. Might have been my internet. I think might have dropped a little bit there. Yeah. I can't remember. That happened the other night with 40 as well. It dropped out a few times. Pat's just said it. It was certainly better than other states. I didn't attend. The one I attended didn't have a penalty box or intend to use one until halfway through Sunday. Yeah, that's that can be interesting. Yeah, I guess it maybe drive through penalty for a penalty box. I don't know.
But look, even just like you said, even having the penalty box there, just people go, "Oh shit, there's a penalty box.
Yeah,
I better not do anything wrong."
Yeah,
I don't want to end up there,
Yeah,
and they think twice.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I think it's probably, and Pete does this really well. That's one thing that I noticed from the weekend is Pete does this really well. He's proactive rather than reactive.
Correct.
And proactive people tend to get on top of the things before anything happens.
Yeah.
And so we didn't see those issues because of the proactivity leading up to the event, in the driver's briefing, in having the referees there. So we didn't have to be reactive of penalizing people for incidents. Rather, we had drivers penalizing themselves, bringing them back down to the level playing field of if they cause their own issue. Yeah, when you elevate for the world, I think there was probably things that we can advance on, and this isn't just for a hills side of things, but probably a general state titles sort of side of things to elevate before the worlds. I would probably agree on that.
For the worlds, mate, you're gonna have 150 of the best drivers in the world.
Yep.
Surely they can readdress things themselves 95% of the time. You know.
Like in comparison, once again, in comparison to other events I've been to, and that's both within Australia, like New Zealand, I've raced a fair bit over in New Zealand, and a bit around, say, Europe for world titles and America for world titles. The cleanliness of the racing, I'd say, was well and truly above pretty much any event that I'd ever been to. So when it comes to that sort of things, I think it was really clean, to be perfectly honest. I can't view the link that you shared there, Pat, but I'm guessing it's probably either an incident or something along those lines. Nonetheless, I think it was very few and far between. Definitely generalization
nothing to worry about.
Yeah. So I was really impressed with that sort of side of things. Okay. We have been chatting for nearly an hour. We'll quickly run through the results of all the way through the heats. I'm glad that I didn't say that, because usually what I do at the start of a live stream, I go, oh yeah, this will only be a 45-minute chat, and we'll be out of here by 7 o'clock. I don't do that anymore, because I realize every time I do that, it ends up being a 2.5-hour chat, like what we had with 40 the other day, and I'm not doing that anymore. So let's flick this on. Hopefully I can get this right. Share screen. Let's see, which one's this one? This is Tour Drive Day, so we went to the wrong one. Anyway, we'll start off with Tour Drive. We'll kick things off with sort of a bit of a summary from, I'd say, from your side, on who was a bit of a surprise for you when it came to the modified class, and we'll go to the final results for modified. Was there any sort of big surprises in the top 10 from modified for yourself? And this is for Tour Drive.
No real surprises as such. Yep. Just super proud of a couple of guys, of our guys anyway. Sam Muffet.
Yep.
Sam Muffet and Pete Seckold.
Yeah.
Both. Sam's quite young, and so is Pete. But Sam hasn't been racing a very long time, and I'll be the first to say that I've had a couple of chats with him in the past saying, you need to slow down, you need to relax, you need to, basically don't crash. And again, we said the same thing to Seckold as well. Said, just keep the thing on its wheels and you make the main. And they made the main.
And
so,
another person there as well, which I found really good to see up and racing, was Mr. Jared King. Last time I saw him race was 2017 Nationals, so it's good to see him back up and running and making the top 10 as well.
Yeah, true. To make the main after being out for I'll say a few years now. He's been dabbling here and there a little bit, but I guess first one back racing. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, once again, the last time I saw him race would have been the 2017 Nationals, where he won. Putting me on the spot with this one will be, did he win four-wheel drive or two-wheel drive?
Yeah.
He won four-wheel drive. Yeah. So that was at Maitland. That's pretty much his home track, I believe, is it?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, Jared Ment coming through with the win for two-wheel drive, Lachlan Donnelly, and then yourself on the podium. Jordan Isagen as well. Jordan had, I'd say, a slower start than what I somewhat expected in some ways, but once he sort of found his feet out there, it looked like you could see him getting quicker almost every single main. Like come the third main, he was just as quick as Donnelly and Ment, who were battling it out for the win, which is really interesting and really good to see as well. So that'll be interesting to watch coming into the Nationals, and that's the side of things where he can sort of hopefully start off in a similar gear as to where he sort of ended up at the end of the end of the state titles in the last weekend.
Yep.
So that would be good to see. But yeah, so top 10, very strong. One thing we have to touch on as well is the strength of the sort of say top 30, because
The B final
like,
was an A final, mate.
correct, like the drivers making the B final, and you know some of the old boys as well. That you know when I say old boys, it's not meaning that they're slower. That these guys are freaking quick as well. Like they are
Correct.
top level drivers. You know, starting off with Craig Lawton, missing out on the A main, but man, he was flying over the weekend. Glenn Benetti, Paney had a really good run in two-wheel drive. His car looked awesome in two-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Nathan Healy, he's been sort of doing a bit more 8 scale recently, but he's quick in 10 scale once he sort of finds his feet as well. Easily could be in a top 10. Gillett, no, he was flying as well on the weekend. Ben Sterling run the shoey out there. Young Phoenix Eggleton, he's come a long way in the last sort of probably 6-12 months.
Yep.
Hugo's saying, no, I haven't heard of Hugo too much, but you know, I'm guessing he is
local young
Sydney
guy.
local. Yep.
Yeah, local young guy. Races at Ryde and Castle Hill.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah,
This
quite
seems
fast.
to be
Getting faster
real
and
quick.
faster. He hasn't
Yeah.
been racing a long time either. He's only
Okay.
been racing a couple of years, and
Yep.
only really sort of turns it on, say, the last 6-8 months as well. So
Right.
yeah, getting faster and faster.
Yeah. And then obviously Brad Verco and James to round out top 20.
Yeah.
Why does Ben Panic have a Singapore flag for his? Haven't you just noticed that?
He's over there at the moment, maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know. Well, actually, I know he was living over there.
He was,
with
for
work.
a while.
He's probably still got it set as that. So.
Yeah, he seems to live over there more than he does here, so it kind of makes sense at the same time. But yeah, all the way down through, say, the top 30, and I like to say top 30 because I'm 29. So.
Yeah, like I'm 29.
Yeah, two-wheel drive is a rough one. But yeah, top 30 drivers, I would say, realistically could have made the A main. Like a lot of those drivers could very comfortably, if they had a slightly better run here and there during qualifying, could have made it into the main and would have been pretty comfortable there. Just the strength of the field at the New South Wales Titles was comfortably the strongest I've ever seen. And I'd say you probably reflect those thoughts as well.
100%.
So
I've never seen 60 mod cars at a state title ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
Connor Lawton's apparently American now as well. Okay. Okay. But yeah. Massive fields, all the way down to a F main. So quickly
Crazy.
flick over through the stock classes. For two-wheel drive, once again, Stoney actually taking the win, starting from third. Stone took the win. Officer Vaggi coming in second. Dallas Gardner in the 3 spot. So were you running virtually the same setup between the stock car and the mod car for, say, Stone and yourself?
Yes and no. Sunday morning, Michael did come over and say, "Oh, what do I do here? What do I do here?" And change his car up. I'll say considerably for Sunday as a Sunday morning race day change. He changed his springs, he changed his oil, changed his pistons, whole shock package, and even some of the rear end settings on the car. And I think just because it was a little bit different, the track from what it was in practice. Not that he was uncomfortable with his car, he just wanted to make sure that it was right for him on the day. And it was, I'll say we were close.
Yep.
We don't really change setups stock to mod, so to speak. Like if I was to ever put a stock motor in my car, I'd literally run the same setup. I wouldn't change it. You change the setup for the person who's driving the car. For example, Michael likes quite a pointy car in terms of steering, whereas I like a little bit more docile car in terms of the initial steering. So we just adjust it accordingly. A little bit more Ackerman or a spring or whatever to make it more pointy for him. But otherwise, we were fairly close, I'll say.
Right. Quickly touch on juniors, the up and comers of our hobby. And it was big field at junior as well.
Yeah,
Once again,
very strong.
probably the biggest junior off-road field that I've probably ever seen, to be honest. 13
Look,
drivers.
we actually get probably 8 to 10 juniors to a club day.
Wow.
Juniors / beginners, we'll call it. Yeah, we normally get a full field to a club day at Hills.
Yep.
And you know, it's a testament to like Pete and stuff who do build tracks according for these people who are able to you know, you can get new people in, or some of the older gentlemen that can still enjoy racing on the track. Even some of the vintage guys, they hold vintage events down there as well.
Yep.
You know, so they can cater for almost everybody in that sense.
Yeah.
That's really good.
No, it's awesome to hear as well, because it is tough to get your the juniors into the hobby. There's,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of competing sort of hobbies in today's world, realistically, when it comes
Yep.
to video games,
Yep.
just mates and stuff. And I actually had a really good chat with Painey throughout the weekend and explained, I'd say, a lot of things as to why it is so difficult to sort of get new people in. And I'd actually like to get Painey on the stream to sort of walk us through what he went over and stuff, because what he said made a lot of sense, realistically. Nonetheless, we will move on. Oh, sorry. Will Aiken taking the win in that. Zach Panic coming in second.
Yep.
And Lincoln Isgen. Yeah, Lincoln's coming a long way at the moment as well. So it's good to see Lincoln Isgen having a good run, coming in third.
Yeah, they all drove very well, actually.
Yeah.
And even down to the lower guys, you know, Pete was calling them through, and they were sort of, you know, giving way to the faster guys and that sort of thing. So yeah, they were in full control of their cars, which was pretty cool. Good to see.
Yeah, and 13 cars on the track, most all day.
That's
so,
all the cars.
So with juniors, they were doing well. Over to Stadium Truck, not as popular as probably what I expected, but then again, a lot of people are focusing on buggies at the moment. Lockie Monday having a good run with his team associated T6. Ben Sterling running once again the Schumacher, and Nathaniel White coming in third as well.
Good fun class to watch, actually.
Yeah, and it looked like a fun class to drive as well. 12 cars from that.
Are you coming to the Nationals?
I'm not sure yet.
Because if you are, you're going to bring a Stadium Truck, right?
Yeah, look.
Because it's on a separate day.
Yeah, I'll bring a truck of some kind. If I'm at the Nationals, I will be bringing a truck, whether it be a short course. I love my short course racing. They are the most docile buses to drive, and I just love that fact that you're trying to take this absolute train wreck of a car around a track. So yeah. So yeah, that pretty much takes away our two-wheel drive segment. We'll quickly flick on the four-wheel drive, and then we'll look to start wrapping things up. Oh, what have I done? Not that. Let's see. There we go. And hopefully, I'm just going to delete this one. I'll make it easier so I don't get the wrong one again. Results, and that's still two-wheel drive. Far out. Deleted the wrong one. What a peanut. Let's flick it over. There we go. Four-wheel drive. Okay. So yeah, four-wheel drive mod. Once again, yourself up the top. You know, having a great run in four-wheel drive. Against really strong competition. Lockheed only in the 2 spot. Jared Ment rounding out your podium. So same podium, just different positions. And I'd be surprised if we see much change from that once we come to the Nationals, to be honest, because that is so strong. But you never know. Lockie Monday had a pretty strong weekend in the end there. I think he got better as the days went on as well.
He was at the warm up event the week prior, so yeah, that would have helped a lot for him. Matty Cooper, you know, he hasn't raced in like 3 years, 4 years,
man.
Like zero. He ended up doing the warm up as well. And I think he raced one other club day or something prior. Like he's done zero racing in the lead up. So yeah, to be up there, it's pretty damn good, just quietly.
Yeah, man. He drove his socks off. Come two-wheel drive as well. He was leading for I think probably 3 or 4 laps in one of the mains.
A2.
Yep.
Yeah, correct.
Crazy. It was an exciting race as well. If there's a race to watch from the weekend, it'll probably be A2 from Two Wheel Drive Mod.
Yeah.
Just the amount of drives that were bouncing around all over the place, crazy. So yeah, Matty Cooper, he had an awesome weekend. Yeah, it was good to see him drive because I have heard of his driving, a fair while ago, but yeah, I haven't seen him drive. So that is good to see him have a drive. Peter Seckold. How would you rate his results over the weekend? Like he had a
Really
great
good.
result the week before, and he sort of
Really good.
it was quick again. A lot quicker than I expected.
Yeah.
So
Look, he's quick. He is quick.
Mm.
His Achilles heel is he doesn't know how to consolidate and conserve and coast.
Yeah.
It's hell for leather every lap, regardless of what position. He could be Adam Waleed by 11 seconds, and he will still be driving 11 10. It's crazy. He has no other gear. It's just all out.
Yeah.
So he did very well.
Yeah. No, once again, super strong fields. Getting in front of Jordan Isagen there, and that's a tough ask. Nathan Healy in 4-wheel drive having a much better run than his 2-wheel drive. James making the main in this one, and Jared King rounding out the top 10 once again.
Yeah.
So, but
James Newhart's actually quite fast. He's a local and sort of races a fair bit. Actually, does a little bit of 8 scale as well. So yeah, it was good to see him make the main in there.
Yeah, and well deserved as well. Yeah, had a good run on the short course against him. Painey coming in 11th, missing out on the main along with Gillett, Ben Cribben, like
so
once
close.
again, super strong drivers. And making the top 10, we were talking, 1 or 2 points, and then if it came down to times, it was literally tenths of a second, to hundreds of a second between drivers making the main and not making the main. So anyone that just didn't make the main, that definitely shouldn't feel disappointed. I'd have been stoked if I made the top 20.
That's right.
So, everyone from here on in, Phoenix Eggleton, once again, making the top 20. Glenn Benetti, Brad Verco, he's a local driver down there. He had a pretty good run throughout the weekend.
And he hates 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Let me rephrase that. Hated 4-wheel drive. He likes it now that he's got an XB4.
Right. Okay. He's running the XB4.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. He's had it for a couple of weeks, and he actually likes 4-wheel drive now, apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good.
Yeah, and all the way down the order, old Johnny Boy, John Philpott. I love a bit of Philpott. We won't go too far into my love of Philpott. I'm sure you know probably more about it than I do.
I think we need to keep it PG, right?
Yeah, we do need to keep it at least somewhat PG. But yes, there was happenings over at Hoodie Arena. Over to stock. Savaggi taking the win. Michael Stone once again a strong result in second there. It was tight between those two boys in 4-wheel drive again. Dally G had a great weekend. Like
stellar.
Yeah. So I'd say that's probably some of his best results I've seen in quite some time.
Yeah. He must have changed his shock oil or something.
Yeah.
He does zero maintenance normally. But when he does maintenance, he goes well.
Yeah. No, I have been told that his maintenance levels are pretty low. Over the
Premier class.
Yes, the Premier class from the weekends. Still got beat by Mr. James Ruha yet. Wow. Man, his truck was flying.
He just had a little bit more traction than yours.
A little bit more of
everything.
Bit of
corner speed. Yeah. But you were hanging it out a lot.
Yeah. That's the only way I could drive that thing to make it feel at least a little bit quicker. But I had no steering coming into a corner. And I had too much steering coming out, and then I had too much on power. It was a mess, and it was great fun to drive, and that's all that matters. But yes, a good old short course class. It's all there for fun. Anyway, that wraps up results. That sort of side of things. I had a couple more quick points. Upcoming events at Hills RC. So probably the basics of this is that, a couple of months from now, they're going to have the national titles. Do you know rough dates for that?
Long weekend in October, I believe.
Long weekend October. So nationals, that's going to be a massive event. Yeah, as mentioned, we
Huge,
could be seeing up to 300 entries for that. It would not
easy,
surprise me
I
at all.
reckon. Yep. Hmm.
Going to be big days. It's going to be massive days. Luckily, things get split up a little bit better. You know, you have two-wheel
Correct.
drive day, four-wheel drive day, and then truck day. So at least the truck days get separated. If they decided to say do any sort of special things like an over 50 class, they can have it on the the Sunday, the truck day. But I'm guessing they'll probably have enough classes that they won't even be thinking
Yeah.
about an over 50s and stuff.
No.
They'll be pretty tired by that day.
I think there was sort of whispers about maybe moving juniors to the truck day, something like that, just to be able to separate, tool drive out of the tool drive day or whatever.
Yeah, free up a bit more time.
Yeah, correct. And I think because it's public holiday and whatever, I don't know the exact dates, but yeah, it'll be on the weekend portion, so that the kids will be able to run it as well. So
Yep.
it should be good.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what the club decides.
Yep. Looking forward to any information about that. Coming into next year, there's a good chance the club will be hosting a pre-worlds. My guess is, I think it's almost a necessity to host a pre-worlds.
Correct. Yeah.
And there'll be other events in between all this and stuff like that as well. And then obviously the world titles come, I think, about September, October sort of way. Should be about the same time as year as what the previous one was just held. There's a lot I think the club will do in between that time as well. There's definitely improvements I'm sure that they've seen that they need to make from the weekend. Not massive amounts, but just little things here and there. But realistically, coming from the state titles, that was as big as it was. They've done an awesome effort, and they really should be proud of themselves. Pete, especially the amount of hours that he's put into that track, the organization and stuff, definitely should be very proud of himself, and as well as the rest of the committee. Mr. Muffet on, helping out with scrutineering and stuff. Scrutineering for 230 entries, 230 cars. That is huge. And he's done that with very, a bit of help here and there, but nonetheless, he's had to scrutiny. If every driver's had, say, 3 sets of tires, it's in excess of, like 700 tires he's had to check off his list. So yes, big weekend for all committee members and also the canteen club and that sort of side of things. They've all done a massive effort. Hopefully bring a little bit of cash into the bank and hopefully can, help out the club wherever they need help. So really looking forward to what the club can do. As for yourself, what are your upcoming events? What's the rest of your calendar for this year looking like?
I'm going to Bateman's Bay tomorrow morning. We got the Raw Speed Challenge, 1/8 buggies. And then from that, look, I'm not too sure, to be honest. It'll probably be at Hills at every club day and every opportunity that we can get. I will be going to Queensland for the ABC 1/8 buggy race that Scotty Ernst holds. We'll do the Chili Bowl at Ride, 110 scale. I believe Scotty Ernst is coming over for that too. I saw that today, which is really
Scotty's
cool.
going to be there for that one, so that's awesome.
So that'll be a good one to go to as well. That's an oiled track. It's quite grippy, quite good, nice to race on and drive on. It's so that'll be another good one to get to. And then eyes forward to the nationals, I guess, at Hills, which it's a little while away, but it's not that far away really. We'll only have like 5, 6, 8 handful of club days that we might be able to attend, and then the nationals will be up. So focus on that. We'll have an XRS race probably there at the end of the year as well, like we normally do. So another one to get to. Look, there's always something. We'll be doing the Raw Speed Series this year again, the old Proline Challenge, so to speak. So we have 5 rounds of that coming up. So I'll do that as well. We'll support that and do a bit of base buggy racing for some fun. That's pretty much about it off the top of my head anyway. So all good fun.
And one last thing I'd like to bring up as well. he had a bit of a speech after the state titles and stuff, talking, about potential like retirement and all that side of things. What is your plan, say, after the world titles here in Sydney? What are you looking to do?
I don't know, mate.
Yeah.
End of last year, I was I contemplated stopping, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll say there's a bit of a timeline there. Possibly after the Worlds, pull it right back, tone it down. If you call my racing pro level racing in Australia, we'll stop pro level racing and just do some club stuff and pick and choose what we race. But look, I haven't decided that. But the thought's there.
Yep.
I'm old. I'm too old for this shit. Especially at that level, right? Yeah, it takes a lot of focus to zone into that, and I'll say whilst I can still do it, I'll be the first to say that I'm probably driving some of the best racing that I have ever. The young kids have pushed me, to levels that I've probably never been at, but you can't sort of continue that on forever, and we'll see. We'll make a decision on that when we get to it. But yeah, the thoughts were there at the end of last year. Last year was a massive year as well, which kind of probably helped sort of start thinking about that sort of stuff. We were pretty exhausted at the end of the year, but we had fun along the way. I last year I raced more than I ever have in my life. In a 12-month span. So we pushed hard. We pushed hard there. We'll give it another push for 18 months and then see how I feel after that.
Yeah. No, it's good, man. And my first interaction with you, I got to admit here, was actually down at Ride way before pre-oil and that side of things. New South Wales titles have been like 2013, 2014.
Okay.
First interaction with you would have been you were both flogging everyone at Ride and then running over to your trailer and cooking food out of your trailer and just filling everyone up whilst you were just flogging us all. And man, one of the funnest weekends.
The food truck.
Yeah.
That was fun. Yeah, look, it's all fun, mate. It's racing is fun, and I think if retirement is a thing, I'll wait. I don't think I could ever stop racing just quietly. As long as my kids want to do it, I'll turn back what I'm doing, as a pro level racer, and then just hit the track with them and have some fun and whatever, and whatever it brings, it brings. But for now, 18 months, we push as hard as we ever have and see what comes of it.
Yep. Go full hog. Too easy, man. All right. We'll start to wrap it up there. And thank you so much for jumping on, Ari. I really do appreciate you taking the time out to jump on and have a bit of a chat about the events and stuff from last weekend at New South Wales titles. And hopefully for anyone that's sort of looking to enter into the nationals or hoping to get to the world titles, it sort of gives you a bit of an insight into what to expect whilst you're down there and that sort of side of things. And, I think if you are sort of on the edge or on the verge of sort of entering, make sure you do jump on in and have a go at the nationals, whether you're looking at placing in the sort of A main or down probably in the F main with myself. It's going to be a good weekend. So no, I really appreciate you jumping on, Ari, and we'll see you trackside probably at ABC, if not before.
Yep. No, thank you. Appreciate you having me on. And it was all good fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Cheers, matey. Much appreciated. We'll talk soon. Alrighty. So yeah, that massive weekend that we had there from New South Wales titles. Big ups to Ari for jumping on board, and congratulations to him also for taking out forward drive in what was comfortably the most stacked field I've ever seen. And nationals, as mentioned there, if you are looking at jumping into it, It's an awesome opportunity if you're looking at, say, going to the Worlds, attending the Worlds, or racing the Worlds, to sort of see what you'll be up against when it comes down to the local races and get a feel for the actual track itself. So if you are going to sort of sitting on the fence of whether you want to enter into it or not, have a race, make sure you do. We're still a few months away, as Ari said then, but it's going to come around really quick. So make sure you do get your entry in once entry is open. I'm sure it'll be a massive event and, event for the ages. World titles next year, it's going to be huge as well. If you haven't already, thought about your plan for that, start thinking about it. Get your four state titles in. Try to enter for a world titles, and it'd be your best opportunity to run at a world titles you'll probably ever have. One of the cheapest ones. It's not going to be cheap by any means. You're still going to be paying a fair bit and stuff, but in comparison to, say, flying over to Phoenix, Arizona, to Hoodie Arena, you're going to be saving a lot of money. So our home world's great opportunity for anyone that wants to have a run at a world titles to have a run at world titles. All in all, guys, thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Thank you to everyone for liking, sharing, commenting, anything that you've done to sort of help to promote Mitch on the mic. I really do appreciate it. And we'll see you trackside. If you aren't, coming to the truck event up charges this weekend, we'll see you trackside whenever I'm at the track or whenever we're at the track together. Alrighty, guys. We'll see you later.